Hello, hello. Good morning, Theresa. How are you today? You're looking very bright and sparkly.
Why, thank you so much. I'm great, thank you. Do you know what? I've got up and I'm a miracle morning girl. And I was up at 5 and I actually ran for 5 kilometers today. Well, when I say ran, I did slightly faster than a snail's pace, but my body was moving for 40 minutes. It was amazing. So I'm on fire. I've got my coffee. So this could go quite quick.
You literally are going to be on fire then. That's really good and congratulations. So 5K, you've done the couch to 5K, haven't you?
I have, yeah, absolutely. I start this every year and I don't often get past 5K, but the fact is I'm doing something and that's what life's all about, isn't it?
Very good. Maybe motivating me, but I'm still on the I hate running. Walking. I am back into walking whilst we've got this gorgeous weather. So yeah. But welcome. We've made it to my lucky number of four. So podcast episode four. And today we're going to be talking a bit more about what actually happens in coaching. And this is building on our previous three episodes, which hopefully people have been listening into, where we've been looking at how you connect and build a relationship, choosing the right coach for you at the right time, and also about how you build up trust and need to be a bit vulnerable in order to really get the most out of coaching. So this is really about the nuts and bolts of what actually happens. So I think from my perspective, some people may have seen my Never Have I Ever series, hopefully on LinkedIn. And this would be my never have I ever question of had a moment where someone asks you a question so powerful, it shifts the way you see everything. And individuals who've had coaching may actually listen in and go, I remember the question. I remember the question had a severe, significant impact on me. And that's the absolute magic of the coaching side. So today we're just going to unpack what a coaching session looks like, what you can expect, some of those incredible light bulb moments that make people go, wow, I've never thought that way before. So Theresa, we've got this. It's nice to be together again. And perhaps you can then talk a little bit to start with on what your coaching sessions look like and how many do you need in order to be effective?
Oh, yes. Well, every coaching session is different and it'll be different with every coach. I'm sure your sessions are very different to mine. And we've had the privilege of coaching each other when we did our training. And every coach will come at it from a different angle. And we've touched on this already, haven't we, in the past about finding the right coach for you. So every session will be different. Everybody's style will be different. But fundamentally, it depends on what the client's needs are. Traditionally, I think most coaches will set up maybe a course of sessions, maybe 6, and then you review it as you go through. But what actually happens in those sessions can be quite different. I would say the first one is all about where you discover each other. And we use that phrase, the discovery session. I'm still not a big fan of it, but I haven't found a better phrase yet. But we discover each other, and that's where that vulnerability that we've talked about previously starts to come in. But then the sessions are very much led by the needs of the client. You may have set some goals at the beginning, so that gives you something to anchor back to about what you want to try and achieve. Or it might be that every session is different because the coachee, the client, will come with a different need each time. And that's why we always ask at the beginning, what is going to help you today? And you as a coachee need to be really open with that. And sometimes, I mean, I've been sat there and they've said to me, I don't know. I don't know what I need to talk about today. And that's where you've got to trust your coach because they will either anchor you back to your original goals or there'll have been something that's come up previously that maybe you need to explore and delve back into a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, I think I've had the same thing where there's differences between strategic objectives. This is what we need to achieve by the end of 6 sessions. And then we can break it down as to, okay, well, how are we going to tackle that over the course of 5 or 6 sessions? But sometimes you're right. It's someone turns up and goes, there's just something I just need to talk about today. And you go, well, that's the top of mind. We're not going to achieve anything else unless we work through what's the top of mind, because that's their pressing challenge to try and deal with. So yeah, you're right. It can be an absolute mix, can't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you've got something, as you say, top of mind, that's going to be a barrier to anything else. So you have to absolutely go with that. The way that the sessions are structured, again, as we say, will depend, but all coaches will have some form of model that they follow. And anybody that's done any part of coaching training, whether that be literally a 1 hour session in your workplace, probably by your manager, will talk to you about a model called Grow, which in essence, it starts by having a look at what's the situation, what's the realities of that situation, what are the options that are open to you, and therefore what are you willing to move forward with. And then there's lots of other models that go around, but in essence, that's what we're getting at. We're looking at where are you at, why are you there, what do you want to achieve, what's the art of the possible, and then what are you willing to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to move forward with? And it's really interesting because you automatically get into that. And I don't know about you, but I found myself doing that with my teenagers.
A little bit now of the I think we mentioned before, my dear son, who is literally just about to go off to school for his first GCSE, it's been a little bit of the, what do you want to feel like when you open your results in August? So we've sort of worked back from there into the, and now I feel motivated that I need to do quite a bit of revision. So I know exactly what you mean. It's a little bit of that solution-based coaching, isn't it? Where do you want to be? Imagine that. Right, now we work backwards. How do we get there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting with every coachee, so every client, it's always different as to how open they are and also which session you're on in your journey of being coached. You'll sometimes find that a client is very closed off and really struggles to even see what the options are, what's available to them. And that's sometimes where a coach might potentially slip into what we call more of a mentoring role. Because if that client is really closed off and really struggling and can't sort of unlock the door for themselves, we might just put a few potential ideas in front of them. And that's
Yeah,
more mentoring as opposed to coaching. But you flip between the two, don't you, Philippa? You often find yourself, well, where am I on that journey?
yeah. And I think it's it's that point of trying to draw as much as you can from the knowledge, the experience, the skills that a coachee has already, and just try to unlock them. But there's also blind spots, or there's not the knowledge. So I think that's where you slide down that scale a little bit more into the mentoring mode, and just try and help to tease that through. I've had a few times with clients that that's happened. And it's amazing that in the next or the session after, you can see how they've made that leap and that it has still unlocked something else. A bit of confidence maybe in the way that they're operating with their team. That, you, if you hadn't done that piece of mentoring to unlock that next step, then it wouldn't have given them the impact that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the trust comes in. So trusting each other, knowing that you're in a safe space and that's our job to create a safe space for you, knowing that you're in that safe space that you can lay yourself vulnerable. And sometimes you just don't know the answers and it doesn't matter. It when you're at work, you often won't allow yourself to be vulnerable or allow yourself to sort of say, I don't know, because of fear of looking as though you can't do your job. So therefore, we allow you to say those things and be open. And often you'll find a coach that's not even in your industry. So there's no cross-reference whatsoever. And that often can be a real help. I know I've coached a lot of people in the education industry, head teachers and executive head teachers. And I sort of know their world, but I don't really know their world. And therefore they can come to me and say, let it all out with no fear of judgment whatsoever, and then I can suggest maybe some ideas, and then all of a sudden they get that light bulb moment, and that is so special, I think, for them, but more importantly for us as coaches. I mean, it just you can't help but smile when you see it come across their faces, and it unlocks those doors I know, share, Philippa, please do, because I know you've had some amazing light bulb moments on your journey with your clients and also in life.
Yeah, no, I definitely have. I think there's a few things which, as I've, been going through when I went through the certification, was realizing the power of things in a coaching session like silence. And I know it's more challenging maybe for you and me, Teresa, because we don't like the silence, do we? But it's been definitely the bit which was my growth opportunity. That that silence was amazing and powerful in the fact that it actually gave the coaches the headspace. And you could see literally the cogs whirring, the pennies dropping, the change, maybe a tilt of the head or the eyes light up, something in the body language that just means that they've had that moment themselves. And then coming back and actually feeding back, where you just mentioned that or where you summarize what we've been talking about in the session, it's just made me have that moment to reflect and think more clearly. And I think, there's been a couple of times where it's been I now think about this in a different mindset than I was when we started this session. So rather than going, oh my God, it's a headache and it's a complete challenge and I'm grumpy about it and I don't want to do it, it was actually we've reframed a question into this is how we can this is how we can take the opportunity and we can make it work. This is the way we're going to get there. So there's a lot about that reframing, where a coachee may come in with a particular challenge and you have that moment with the body language. That's what I absolutely love. It's a really beautiful thing where you just see that change and go, oh, they released, this is now a whole new track that they're about to go on to. And then again, seeing that come back, in a follow-on session of they may come and they've already got a slightly different approach to the way that they're looking at a new challenge. And part of that is because of the last session and the way we've had a reframing of things. So the reframing to me is the bit that I've had myself where I've reframed something into I need to respond to things, not react to everything. And it's the same, I think, that I've seen with coachees that I've been coaching as well. And it's a little bit like, from a coaching perspective, you've got Sir John Whitmore, who says coaching is about unlocking a person's potential, maximize their own performance. It's helping them to learn rather than teaching them. And that, I think, is represented really well, as I said, with those examples where someone comes back and they've already got a different way of framing where, how they're going to approach either, leading their team or with particular business challenges. So it's a bit like giving a man a fish to feed them for a day and teaching them to fish so that they're fed for life. So I think that's what I find is the real magic. Either, reflections during a session, reflections at the end of a session, reflections in the next session or the session after, or sometimes I've even had it that it's been a conversation 3 or 4 months later, and actually I've had feedback from a coachee going, this is what happened through the journey of the coaching, and this is now the impact that I'm actually having in my work life, my professional life, or my personal life, as an impact from what's been happening from my professional, the way I'm approaching things from a professional perspective. So I think it's absolutely amazing. And just reflecting a bit on what you said earlier, Teresa, around the grow sort of frame model that most of us will use or adapt slightly. I do think the framework of that is really helpful, but there is freedom within that framework, and it's tailored specifically to what the needs are for the individual coachee at that particular time. So it's applying that, with us as professional coaches, being able to read, understand, have occasional silence, and then be able to help move on and help with that reframing.
I think that's wonderful. And you know what? As you were talking about silence, something I was reminded of, if you think of the letters that we use to spell the word silent, it's the same as the same letters that we use to spell the word listen. Very powerful stuff.
Very powerful. So, Teresa, always useful to have a lovely chat with you and hopefully some demystifying for those listening as well about what actually can happen in coaching. What's our message today?
Well, we've covered a lot with regard to what happens in those sessions, and I am hoping that our lovely listeners will realise that every session, every contract, every relationship is bespoke and different between you, the coachee, and us, the coach. There is a bit of a roller coaster of a journey. It can sometimes be very, very exciting, and other times you can feel like you're stuck in the mud. And together we can work through what you need to unlock and where you need to get to. The contract will be different for each client. You might need 1, 2 sessions. You might need 6. You might need 10. You might recontract as we go. You might then decide you want to do some group coaching. So it will change all the time. But the real message is stick with it, because no matter what, this will add value to your life. This will help you create a better life and absolutely be the best version of yourself.
Thank you very much, Trace. A great message and a good end to session 4. We'll look forward very much to seeing everyone on our next episode.
Can't wait. Can you believe it? We're nearly at the end of our first series.
It's a great
It
segue to our next session, which is all about endings.
is. Great to see you. Bye.